女士们、先生们，欢迎来到李世锋茶谈录。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a tea with Li. Today, with great honor and pleasure, we are having Olivera from Cyprus and Serbia. She's a great violinist, and we use the to cooperate for making Bach, Tai Chi, and violin and piano together with a great friend Anita in Serbia. So Olivera just finished the great journey of music in China. And so today we are going to have a little tea talk about her experience of being a professional violinist and a little bit story and experience when she was in China. So please, Olivera, how and why did you choose violin as your profession and your passion?
你好, this is hello in Chinese, and I have a great pleasure to talk to you, Li, today. And I wish we could really drink a tea, but this is now a virtual version of tea with Li, but hopefully we can make it again in China.
Definitely.
The interesting thing today, it's 21st of March, and it's great composer's birthday, Bach's birthday. And it's this coincidence that we met actually through Bach music, that we did Bach and Chi in Belgrade with a pianist friend Anita. We performed together his sonata that I played at the time in Guarnerius Hall. And somehow everything, it's like a circle, you know, that puts things together, and it works like Chi in some way. I'm very grateful to talk to you after I visited China second time, and I spent there 2.5 weeks. We had concerts in beautiful halls in 12 different cities. And for me, this was a great experience in many levels. From my previous visit when I was in China in '98, China made huge progress. And I was amazed with the difference with some cities I visited before, like Beijing and Shanghai. And Shanghai, I couldn't recognize actually, you know, it was completely different vision now. I had a great time. Concerts were really a beautiful experience. Audience was so warm, and they were greeting us in every hall with this, thirst to listen. And it was a pleasure playing there. I was there with Italian Philharmonic Orchestra, and we played this New Year program because this was happening the end of December, beginning of January. And with us was 2 Italian singers, tenor and soprano, beautiful voices. And we also performed, except Italian composers, Strauss, because it's a festive time. And we performed some Chinese songs, and the Chinese audience was thrilled with them. Of course, for me, the best thing was that Italian violinist played their Paganini first movement of Paganini Concerto, and he also played Butterfly Lovers, the last movement of this beautiful concerto, which actually I am planning to play in the next year on some concerts that I'm planning. And that's about China. And we were going from the north to south, back to north, and finishing with the south part of China. For me also, I have this connection with China because I was telling Li that I practice this martial arts in some way in Cyprus, where I live currently. It's Limassol. And when we met in Belgrade, we also did some Tai Chi with him. And for me, this energy that is very important for life and for, you know, human beings, it's through this discipline practice, very similar with playing violin in some way. So we will now go back through chi to violin. You were asking me a question, why I play violin, right?
Yes.
I play violin because it cultures my spirit. And I also believe teaching violin cultures spirit of others, students. And this is very important in my life in some way. And that's why I choose violin. Now, to be able to do that, there is a lot of steps, and some of them are spontaneous. Some of them, they require a lot of discipline from the early age. But it's interesting that actually, if you ask me if I choose violin, no, I didn't choose violin. Violin chose me. Because when I was very young, I actually liked to be a singer. And I was singing all the time. And then my parents took me to opera performances. And I was actually delighted with that. For me, this was a scene with music, dancing, singing, everything. And this beautiful, beautiful, very, very colorful, that at a young age you really get very excited. After that, when we went to the music school, we were thinking that I start piano. And I had in my house a big concert piano. But when I came to this special music school, when they were testing my hearing, they said that my hearing is better for violin, and they gave me violin. Since then, I was 6 years old. I stayed with violin all my life, so that was it. It was very easy in some way. So that's about that.
Cool. I'm happy that to know your story that okay, Van Arling chose you instead of you choose Van Arling. So it's such as you mentioned, is like a coincidence. Like today is the birthday of Bach, and we met in a sort of way to say because of Bach. You and Anita, you know, were going to play Bach, and based on our friend's recommendation, we met each other and we united Bach, Van Arling, piano, and then my style, 中进道, Taiji together, and to offer the audience a great show. Maybe it was quite a unique show. And for this, I always, when I listen up to the music, when I see the, you know, the potential to unite it, you know, on the, for example, on the street, or a few days ago, when I visited the Beethoven house, you know, there is a great pianist playing. I thought, okay, wow, if how we can make the Beethoven and you know, 中进道 system, Taiji or Shaolin Kungfu together, how will be amazing, just like what we did before. So our experience and the story somehow always crossing in my mind to try something new, to feel the melody of my performance, to understand the musician mind, how they write, as you said, how they compose the music like Bach, and how you play to express what Bach would like to tell with us, Okay, so you mentioned that the Van Arling chose you, and for example, now I'm going to train a little bit of Van Arling. What is your suggestion to the newbie like me, or for the people who didn't train in long time, they are struggling to make a process of Van Arling?
A learning process in any subject, it's a part of someone's life. And I believe this has to be incorporated in their growing up as a person, as individual. Now with learning violin, as I said before, why I choose violin, for me, this was all the time interested, because there was this line that this has to be effortless, but with a lot of discipline, which is contradictory in some way. And for me, this moment, when you take the instrument and you start playing, this cannot be material, and you have material in your hands, and you always have to bridge this. For me, this was very interesting, that from inside, with this violin, it's made of wood, bow, it's made of wood, and you even have a bow hair, that you have to make something that will be in the air, right? So this for me was a challenge, and was such a great motivation, that you forget about material and that you come to this air where we are not actually, And then even the time becomes different in some way, And music, you cannot touch, you cannot see, you can maybe visualize or something, but it's really something that you pass the material. So for me, when I teach students, this is also very important. And I think everybody can find motivation this way. The moment you find motivation, the discipline starts automatically, right? It's that you will find your idea, what you want to grow. And through this violin playing, you grow as an individual, as a spirit, as a being, right? In many ways. And these patterns that they have to be repeated, like practicing parts of Qigong or Tai Chi, they make you actually more and more flexible, that you go to a certain path that became so spontaneous that automatically you will go to this, patterns of movements that will give you the sound you want, that will give you speed you want, that you will use all the physics law, and you will produce the music that actually people, audience, or somebody who is listening, it's captivating, and they feel happy about it, sad, or whatever this interpretation brings. And you come after certain years to this point that you're never satisfied, but you're happy that in this process, you're finding this chi that is going in this circle. And I believe to be motivated to continue, even if something is hard, and as a professional musician, you have to train yourself so good with ear training that it's never good enough, that you find, always it's this process that you listen, and even more listening, it's always worse in some way. But this doesn't stop you to give this interpretation from inside with what you want to say in some way. And it's very interesting, this symbiosis you were telling, and these spontaneous paths that take us in life in some way. And it's with many people, even people who are not artists, that I've noticed. It's that, for example, violin, it's an instrument, usually string instruments, they very rarely play solo. Okay, maybe Bach solo, sonatas and partitas, but usually we play with piano from early age. All compositions, since it's for violin and piano, like for voice and piano, you need this harmony, because violin, it's mostly melodic instrument. And you play with piano. In the later stage, you might start playing in a chamber group. After, you will play in the orchestra, and you always have this symbiosis with different people. Now that I was talking about inside has to be developed the most with the soloist. So the other people will follow you as a leader and your own interpretation. With chamber music and orchestra, you have to be so adaptive that you will be the part of this collective group. And then you will follow somebody else's idea, like conductors, mostly in the orchestra, or the other members of the chamber group, if it's piano trio, or maybe chamber orchestra, or like we did with you and Anita, it was 3 people. And usually, with energy, just one person, it's more subjective, and with this energy, it's like a leader, the other, it's more adaptive. So the symbiosis is going. But the most important thing in learning anything, I think, is to be adaptive, and that you continue doing again and again and again. And then on the end, what I said with violin, it has to be effortless. That today, when you start, you don't feel it's a burden to you. It's some kind of very satisfying feeling that you're doing this, and that you want to put inside out. So that's what I can give as advice for new generations and for my students. Currently, I'm teaching in Olivera Rialas violin interpretative studio in Cyprus, and I am artistic director of this multicolor orchestra that is having a social inclusion for the kids who come from very poor families. This is a very interesting project that will give opportunity to these kids to play instruments. We're having chamber orchestra with them, and they're playing together, and they're from different backgrounds. We have from Chinese kids, Turkish kids, Cypriot kids, Syrian kids, and they're all playing together. And their parents are not musicians. They never heard classical music before. And they're from the 1st grade to the last grade, 6th grade in Cyprus. So this is a very interesting project in some way.
Cool. And thank you for your recommendation with experience to offer the suggestion for the newbies and for the next generation whom are diving into the violin profession. Okay, so as you mentioned, today is Bach's birthday. So, when I was a teenager, I was fond of classical music for a while. And one of the ex-prime minister of China, Mr. Zhu Rongji, he used to write a book about Mr. Li Lanqing, he used to write a book, he's the top, I don't know, maybe top 10 leader in China, but he was fond of music. So he wrote a book talking about the classical music, and the pop music in a sort of way. So what do you think about? So I listened a little bit, but I'm still a newbie to understand. So many people think that there is logic and mathematics in Bach's music. I used to read a book called Mozart Effects for Children. So some people, while the mom who is a newborn baby or before the baby was born, they listen up Mozart's music. So how do you see the difference or similarity between Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven, or particularly in Bach? Where is the mathematics in Bach's music?
I think I'm too small to speak about them. Like, could I dare? Because they were pure geniuses, all 3 of them. And for me, what is interesting, and this is the fact, when I was, learning about Bach's music, since, last year I had this small tour that was based on Bach's violin sonatas for violin and cembalo and solo sonatas and partitas. So I went really practically into this music, because I played a lot of concerts last year with Bach's music, and this was very cheerful for my spirit. Now, the fact that I started talking about it, that Bach wrote around 1,000 pieces, and they're all known for a very short period of time. That means in some way he was very hard worker. If you think how many compositions he wrote per year, I'm not sure about Mozart, how many compositions he wrote during his composing period. He started very early when he was 6 years old, and he died when he was 32 or 33, something like this. Bach, he lived a little bit longer. And if you compare these facts also with Beethoven, I believe they had a lot of compositions per year that they were all good in some way. Of course, all musicians, they have their preferences, you know, between compositions and something like that. But you asked me what is the difference. I think this is what is similar with all three, that they've really worked a lot. Another thing about Bach, Mozart and Beethoven, we have to understand that at that time there was no electricity, there was no computers, the day was shorter. This is fascinating that they were working nights with a candle writing this music. This is also something very, very interesting, that this didn't stop them. You know, in these days, I don't know how many composers you can find that wrote so many works per year. I'm not sure, but I think in this way you cannot compare it with Bach, Mozart, or Beethoven. Now, if you ask me, what is the difference between these three composers? Of course, there is a huge difference because it's different individuals. They have their own spirits, and they bring to those spirits to these compositions, and they come from different period of time that, of course, they were following different how to say, different requests. And like today, we have modern music that is completely different from that time. And this process, again, it's developing and developing in different stages. Sometimes the music merge, so we will have now classic, and it will go back. It will take some things from the past, put to the new or whatever. But the thing is that we know that Bach is belonging to the Baroque period, and he wrote a lot of works that were actually very spiritual, and they were having the purpose to be performed in the churches for masses and the rest of it. For Mozart, he did it also. We know that his Requiem was the last piece that was very famous. And for Beethoven, it's the same story. So Bach was from Baroque period, and Mozart and Beethoven, they come to the classical period of, you know, musical pieces. And Beethoven, with the last period of his life, he already came to the Romantic period. So comparing with Mozart, he's a little bit more, I cannot say progressive, but he was coming to the different period of music. So you see some new structures, new innovative composition techniques. You will hear different emotions in some way that they come with the Romantic period, more freedom with the structures, something completely new in his compositions compared with the Mozart, if you technically compare the periods. Anyway, but what can I say? If you hear any composition from Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven, in the same moment, you'll be mesmerized with the beauty of this music. This is what matters in a way, isn't it? And then we cannot say one is better than the other. We can just say that some people prefer maybe this composition or that period of time, or this is maybe something more suitable to different people. But of course, if you play compositions either from Bach, Beethoven, or Mozart, which is a standard in, let's say, violin repertoire when you study, you have to understand those differences. And emotionally, you have to bring it in a different way using different technical tools. So that's, in a short way, saying about these three composers from my point of view. And you pick, I believe, of course, we cannot say that they're the best, but they're the most hardworking one. They wrote the most number of compositions per year. Let's put this way.
Definitely cool. Thank you for your explanation. And yeah, these three, I mean, Bach, I used to let's say, to listen up, but I don't really remember the highlight of his pieces. But because of our cooperation together in Serbia, so I started to listen more about his masterpieces. So I used to listen quite a lot of Beethoven and Mozart. For example, like for Alice, you know, this is quite a famous one from Beethoven, and also apparently, you know, Mozart, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So something like this, you know, we listen everywhere in the elevator, you know, in the big mall in China, whatever. So, and you mentioned, okay, to express Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, you need different techniques, maybe different sensation and the feeling as well. So how do you see the relationship between techniques and emotion? For example, in Kungfu, you know, we have the form, you know, like for example, we make, you know, this form, we make this form. So we have so many different forms. And to express one form after another, it's like you play one note after another, it become a routine, become a piece to express yourself, to express the composer, the emotion and feeling. And we say, okay, sometimes there is arguments. So some people think that you must focus on the technique, the form firstly, and based on the form, you can express your personality, or you can express, you know, you can put your own understanding into it. So how do you see the relationship of this? It's maybe a common question, but yeah, what is your opinion?
No, this is, I believe this is very, very important topic, because if you make link between the emotions and technique, actually this material that we speak about, which is working with motorics basically, because we are moving hands in this way, or you're doing this, yes? So I think this link has to be established from early stages and should be cut, because the moment even philosophers, they, you know, the 18th and 19th century philosophers, Descartes, they were talking about it, ancient philosophers, that you have an idea that you have to establish. In our way, it's, I mean, in music, it's interpretation of the composer. Now, with interpretation, if you ask me, you have to follow certain rules, which put you on a study to go with the period, with something that was for years collected, because don't forget, classical music, it's many centuries. So during these centuries, it's a lot of knowledge accumulated that you will be able to use. You're lucky, because they already were doing this process of studying this, finding the way to do it, and helping you to find the best possible interpretation, but for you. And for this link from early stage, when you start, you know, holding the instrument, starting with the sound, how to hold your hands, this emotional part has to be established. This link has to be established immediately, that you listen to your sound. That is not only physical movement of the bow. And then this motorics in your hands, they respond. If this link is cut and you have good hearing and you do this very physically, I believe you can come to the certain stage. After that, you can never pass. It will be very difficult, because you have to establish this link between idea that will go with your motorics, that will initiate motorics, not opposite. That motoric will initiate the idea. Because just repeating tam, 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 and without listening, tam, 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 or tam, 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 certain character or something you want to say with this, it will not go anywhere. It will go to the point that you will sound like you were pressing the computer button, for example, and you were repeating this, tap, 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 stop, and it will not have any effect. Because in great art, what affects people is this emotion, interpretation in music, or color and form in painting, or architecture, it's using, let's say, the shape. So this emotion you put to expressing the movement, the sound, form, color, it's what stays, what makes the impact. And you see, when you study music, it's emotions, mental and physical. Physical, it's these movements, but they have to be linked. Without this link from early stage, I believe it's not possible to go to higher levels. It's possible, but it's very hard. And this cannot be separated. And it shouldn't be separated. It's a pity if it's separated, because you're not giving interpretation. You're actually, I don't know, giving some print without any impact. Very, very, even this, you cannot connect the pieces. It's much easier, because then it starts physiologically. This motoric starts working amazingly, and you will need less time to make a piece or something, because you will be working on your association, left and right part of the brain will connect. And they did actually a lot of studies with this to prove officially that these links they have to be made.
Definitely, definitely. This is what, based on your explanation, it somehow inspired me to share, to make what my understanding on Kungfu surely. So what is that? I always share with the friend and student whom are training with me that the form and the technique is like a universalness. So everybody must follow, because the form has its own construction. We must follow up. But based on this form, the emotion, as you said, the color of the music is like your personality, because each of us, we have different personality. We have different way to express who we are by the way, no matter playing music or the way to do movements. So the personality is you put a color for the forms, for the physical, training or physical techniques. It makes us, as a performer, as the, instructor, more vivid as a human being, not like a robot. I mean, nowadays, because AI developed quite a lot, so robot also has emotion and feeling as well. But yeah, surely. So we have the uniqueness, but beyond the unique, we have the universalness. But beyond the universalness, we have uniqueness. That's how our planet, the Earth, is so colorful, with so many different arts, like
yes.
your art and my art, and also, Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart. Once again, thank you so much, Olivera, for your outstanding and understanding on music and your great journey in China. And for any of you guys who like to practice violin and also to know classical music, and also to listen up the story between music and also little story with China, welcome to book Olivera's training. And she's indeed the one you are looking for. And once again, thank you so much, Olivera.
Thank you, Lee.
Okay, I see you guys, and see you for the next time.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.